Have you ever wondered what happens when you simply disappear from someone's life? Not just stepping back slightly, but fully removing yourself, your presence, your energy, your attention, as if you were never there. Think about it. The phone calls they used to expect, the messages they assumed would always come, the comforting rhythm of having you in their orbit, all gone. This is not about punishment or revenge. It's about self-respect. It's about understanding your worth, reclaiming your peace, and letting others experience what life feels like in your absence. It's about practicing a kind of stoicism, mastering your own emotions, and refusing to be caught in the endless loop of giving without reciprocation. But here's the question that burns at the heart of it all. What do they feel when you disappear? The answers might surprise you. From the deafening weight of silence to the overwhelming fear that brings them crawling back, your decision to step away leaves ripples far beyond what you imagine. It's a seismic shift in their world, and each stage reveals profound truths about human nature, relationships, and the value of being irreplaceable. Stay with me until the end, because the final realization, the fear that makes them confront the possibility of losing you forever, is the one that shakes them to their core. If you've ever felt like you've given too much and received too little, this is your message. Let's dive in. 1. The crushing weight of silence. Silence speaks louder than words. When you disappear, it's not just your voice, your messages, or your presence that vanishes. It's the absence of everything they took for granted, the small comforts, the predictable interactions, the sense of control they thought they had over you. And as the silence stretches on, it becomes an oppressive weight they can't ignore. At first, they might brush it off. They might tell themselves they needed the space or that they don't care. But the quiet doesn't just fade into the background, it grows louder. Every notification that isn't from you, every moment spent checking their phone, every instance of hearing nothing from you, it all chips away at their composure. Silence forces them to confront the reality they tried to avoid. You're no longer there. How does it feel to be left alone with nothing but your own thoughts? It's a question they'll start to ask themselves. The routines you once shared are now empty spaces. The conversations they once dismissed as ordinary now feel irreplaceable. Silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's the presence of everything unsaid. Why does silence feel so unbearable? Because it is a mirror. It reflects back all the moments they ignored you, the times they assumed you'd always be there. It forces them to sit with their own choices, their own neglect, and the reality that you are no longer filling their world with your energy. As Marcus Aurelius might remind us, we are each responsible for how we react to life's changes, and in your silence, they are left with no one to blame but themselves. But here's the irony. They thought they could live without you. They thought they didn't need your presence. Now the silence has become a constant reminder of just how wrong they were. And as they wrestle with the void you've left behind, their confidence begins to erode. Isn't it fascinating how something as simple as silence can become so powerful? It doesn't demand, argue, or plead. It just exists, and in its existence it forces reflection. As they feel the crushing weight of your absence, they begin to ask themselves, what have I lost? Was I too blind to see what I had? The beauty of this moment lies in its simplicity. You are no longer chasing them, explaining yourself, or seeking validation. You've stepped back, and the silence does all the work for you. It echoes louder than any words you could have spoken, leaving them to grapple with the realization of what they took for granted. This silence isn't just for them. It's for you. It's a chance to reclaim your peace, to detach from the noise of chasing someone else's approval, and to practice true stoicism by focusing on what you can control, your own response to their absence. As they sit with the silence, struggling to fill the void you've left, something begins to shift. The emptiness becomes undeniable. The next stage begins, and it's one they never saw coming. 2. The emptiness of missing you. When you disappear, it's not just silence they feel. It's a profound emptiness, a void that lingers in every corner of their life. Your presence was something they had grown used to, like air, always available, yet unappreciated. Now, with you gone, they're left gasping, realizing just how much space you occupied in their world. At first, they may convince themselves they're fine. They might even tell themselves they prefer the quiet. But as days turn into weeks, something starts to gnaw at them. The absence of your energy becomes undeniable. It's not just about missing a text or a call, it's about the subtle, comforting rhythm of knowing you were there. Have you ever felt the pang of losing something you didn't fully value until it was gone? That's what they're experiencing now. The good morning texts, the way you listened, the small ways you showed up for them. They start to notice every little thing that's missing. The memories they once dismissed as trivial become heavy with meaning. Why does it hurt so much to miss someone? Because it forces a confrontation with reality. They start to realize that the effort you put in, the care you gave, and the time you invested weren't things they could take for granted. You brought value into their life, and now that value is glaringly absent. For someone new, this emptiness is a sudden jolt. They thought they could take their time, keeping you at a comfortable distance, but now they're left wondering why they didn't appreciate your efforts. For someone in an old relationship, the emptiness cuts even deeper. The routine of your presence was a foundation they assumed would never crack. Now, every silent moment reminds them of what they've lost. Isn't it ironic? The things they thought didn't matter, your laughter, your kindness, your attention, are now the very things they can't stop thinking about. They find themselves longing for the comfort you brought, trying to fill the space you've left behind, but nothing fits. In this emptiness, they begin to compare. They measure others against the standard you set, and no one seems to measure up. You were the one who made their days brighter, their nights warmer, their life fuller. Now, in your absence, they see how irreplaceable you truly were. The Stoics teach us to embrace discomfort, to see it as a teacher. For them, this emptiness is a painful but necessary lesson. It forces them to acknowledge the ways they took you for granted. It forces them to confront the truth. Losing you wasn't just about losing a person, it was about losing the unique energy, stability, and care you brought into their life. But what about you? While they're grappling with this void, you are thriving in your space. You've reclaimed your time, your peace, your focus. You're no longer pouring your energy into someone who didn't appreciate it. Instead, you're channeling it into yourself, practicing Stoicism by detaching from what you can't control and embracing the freedom to grow. Let's take a moment here. If this resonates with you, take action. Leave a comment below and let me know. Have you ever felt the emptiness of someone's absence? Or better yet, have you ever been the one they couldn't replace? Share your thoughts, because your story might inspire someone else who needs to hear this. And while you're here, don't forget to like this video if you're ready to reclaim your power and let them experience the emptiness they've created. Your engagement helps this message reach others who need it. The emptiness is just the beginning. As the void grows, it pulls them into a whirlwind of curiosity, an obsession with knowing where you are and what you're doing. And that's where we're headed next. 3. The sting of rejection. Rejection. It's a word no one likes to confront, let alone experience. When you disappear, you force them to face this uncomfortable truth. They've been rejected. But this isn't just any rejection, it's the kind that strikes deeper than they ever expected. It chips away at their ego, leaves them questioning their worth, and shakes the foundation of how they saw the relationship. You see, they never believed you would walk away. They thought you'd always be there, patiently waiting, giving your time, your energy, and your love without limits. They grew comfortable, too comfortable. But your absence has ripped that comfort away, leaving them to wrestle with the sting of being left behind. Why does rejection hurt so much? Because it challenges their sense of control. When you were present, they felt powerful. They dictated the rhythm of the connection, deciding when to engage and when to withdraw. But your decision to step back changes everything. It's as if you've taken the floor out from under them, leaving them suspended in the harsh realization that they no longer have access to you. Imagine this: they check their phone, expecting a message from you, a message that doesn't come. They scroll through their social media, looking for a glimpse of what you're doing, only to find nothing. Each time they reach for you in their mind, they're met with the stark reality of your absence. Rejection doesn't just bruise the ego, it forces reflection. They start to question themselves. Was I too distant? Did I take them for granted? Did I push them away? These questions gnaw at them, creating a storm of doubt and insecurity. For someone new, this rejection is a wake-up call. They thought they had the upper hand, that your interest gave them all the control. Now, they're left wondering why they didn't reciprocate, why they didn't engage more fully when they had the chance. In an old relationship, the sting of rejection cuts even deeper. They may have thought your bond was unbreakable, something they could neglect without consequence. Now, they're forced to confront the truth. Your patience had limits, and they crossed them. Here's the irony. They believed they were rejecting you. In their aloofness, their indifference, their complacency, they thought they held all the power. But your disappearance flips the script. You've shown them that rejection isn't something that only flows one way. What does rejection teach them? It's a mirror reflecting their choices, their failures, and their lack of appreciation for what they had. The Stoics remind us that pain is often a catalyst for growth. For them, this sting is a chance to grow if they're willing to face it. But let's be clear, this moment isn't about them. It's about you. Your decision to step back isn't an act of cruelty, but an affirmation of your worth. You've chosen not to settle for less than you deserve, and in doing so, you've reclaimed your power. As they sit with this rejection, they may try to mask it with bravado. They might act indifferent, pretending it doesn't bother them. But inside, it's a different story. Rejection isn't just about the loss of a person, it's about the loss of certainty, the loss of control, the loss of someone they thought would always be there. This sting is their lesson, their wake-up call. For you, it's a moment of liberation, a step toward relationships built on mutual respect and genuine connection. And while they're grappling with the pain of rejection, something else begins to take hold. The sting gives way to a deeper emotion, curiosity. 4. Deep self-reflection. Rejection and emptiness have a way of leading to something inevitable, reflection. When you disappear, you remove not only your presence but also the distractions that came with it. In the quiet left behind, they begin to turn inward, questioning themselves in ways they never did before. At first, this process is slow, even subconscious. They might replay old conversations, sifting through their words and actions, wondering if they missed something important. They might ask themselves, was I too cold? Was I too distant? Did I fail to see what was right in front of me? These questions begin to haunt them, growing louder with every passing moment of silence. For someone new, the reflection can be startling. They might have thought of you as someone who would always be available, someone they could take their time with. Now they're forced to ask why they didn't take the opportunity to connect more deeply. They start to see how your efforts to reach out, to show interest, and to engage were met with indifference or half-hearted responses. Why didn't they reciprocate when they had the chance? This is the question that begins to weigh on them. Reflection reveals uncomfortable truths. They didn't prioritize you. They underestimated your value, and now they're left wondering if they've made an irreversible mistake. For someone in an old relationship, the self-reflection runs even deeper. They begin to think about all the moments you tried to bring them closer, the late-night talks, the thoughtful gestures, the times you fought to keep the connection alive. Now, those moments aren't just memories, they're reminders of what they let slip through their fingers. Reflection has a way of stripping away excuses. They can no longer blame you for walking away because they begin to see the role they played in pushing you to that point. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, it is not events themselves that disturb people, but only their judgments about them. Their reflection reveals that their judgment, their failure to appreciate you was what led to this moment. But reflection isn't just about regret, it's also about growth. In this uncomfortable space, they have the chance to recognize their flaws, to see where they fell short, and to understand how their actions or inaction contributed to the loss of someone they once took for granted. This is where transformation can begin, if they are brave enough to confront their shortcomings. However, not everyone is ready to face the truth reflection offers. Some may resist, blaming circumstances or distractions instead of looking inward. But for those who allow themselves to sit with the discomfort, self-reflection can become a powerful tool for change. And what about you? During this time, you are not waiting for their reflection to reach a conclusion. You've chosen to step away, and that choice was for your own peace, not to trigger their growth. You're focusing on yourself, practicing Stoicism by maintaining your independence and clarity. You're not responsible for their journey, only for your own. As they continue to reflect, they're left with a growing understanding of how their actions, or lack of them, led to your disappearance. This understanding stirs a new emotion, one that pushes them further, an overwhelming curiosity about you and your life. 5. The overwhelming curiosity. Curiosity is a relentless force. After they've wrestled with rejection and the emptiness of missing you, and after their self-reflection begins to reveal uncomfortable truths, something else starts to creep in. The overwhelming need to know what you're doing, where you are, and why you vanished so completely. At first, they might try to suppress it. They tell themselves they're fine, that they don't care. But curiosity isn't easily silenced. Every quiet moment becomes an invitation for their mind to wander. They begin asking questions they can't seem to answer. Why did you leave so suddenly? Are you with someone else? Have you moved on without them? Why is curiosity so powerful? Because it thrives in the unknown. Your absence creates a mystery they can't solve. When you were present, they thought they understood you. They believed they could predict your actions, your emotions, your responses. But now, you've become an enigma, and the human mind is hardwired to seek resolution for unanswered questions. For someone new, this curiosity is fueled by confusion. You were once so attentive, so present, and now you've disappeared without a word. They can't figure out what changed, and it starts to bother them in ways they didn't expect. Every day they don't hear from you. The questions grow louder. For someone in an old relationship, the curiosity takes on a more desperate tone. They thought they knew you better than anyone else. They believed they could predict your moves. Now your silence has shattered that certainty. They begin to wonder, who are they spending time with? Are they happier without me? Did I lose them for good? Curiosity drives action. They might start scrolling through your social media, looking for clues about your life. Every picture, every comment, every interaction becomes something to dissect. They might reach out to mutual friends, subtly or not so subtly, asking questions about you. But no matter how much they dig, they can't find what they're looking for, because you're not giving them anything. Here's the beauty of this moment. While they're consumed with curiosity about you, you're living your life. You're embracing the space you've created for yourself, practicing Stoicism by focusing on your own growth and well-being. You're no longer tied to their perceptions or their need for control. Curiosity is also a form of longing. The more they wonder about you, the more they feel the pull of your absence. It's not just about wanting to know what you're doing, it's about wanting to feel close to you again. They miss the connection, the understanding, the sense of familiarity that came with having you in their life. Let me ask you, have you ever felt the power of someone's curiosity? Have you seen how the unknown can drive someone to question everything they thought they knew? If this resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments below. What's your experience with being the mystery they couldn't name? And if you've ever been on the other side, if you've felt the pull of curiosity when someone disappeared from your life, let us know how it shaped your understanding of their value. Your story could inspire someone else to see their situation from a new perspective. But don't forget to like this video if you're finding these insights helpful. Your engagement helps spread this message to others who need it. Curiosity can be all-consuming, but it doesn't end here. As they wrestle with their need to know, it gives way to something deeper. Regret and a desperate desire to regain what they've lost. And that's where we're heading next. 6. The battle between relief and regret. When you disappear, they might initially feel a strange and fleeting sense of relief. It's human nature to crave freedom when something feels too close or too certain. In your absence, they might tell themselves they're better off, that the space is exactly what they needed. But relief is deceptive, it doesn't last. As days stretch into weeks, relief quietly gives way to a far more powerful and lasting emotion: regret. They begin to notice how hollow that sense of freedom truly is, how it lacks the warmth and connection your presence brought to their life. What once felt like liberation now feels like emptiness. Why does regret come crashing in? Because your disappearance forces them to confront the consequences of their actions or inaction. They realize they misjudged the situation, undervaluing the consistency, effort, and care you gave so freely. Regret doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in, growing heavier with each passing moment they spend reflecting on what they've lost. For someone new, the regret is tinged with a sense of missed opportunity. They had the chance to build something meaningful with you, but they let it slip through their fingers. They might think back to your early efforts, the way you reached out, showed interest, and tried to connect, and wonder why they didn't respond more fully. What stopped them? Were they too distracted? Too self-absorbed? These questions haunt them as they replay every interaction, searching for where it all went wrong. For someone in an old relationship, regret cuts much deeper. The bond you shared wasn't new, it was something built over time. They had a foundation with you, a history that should have meant more. Now, every memory feels like a painful reminder of how they failed to nurture what you had. They start to see how their complacency, indifference, or neglect drove you away. Regret has a way of magnifying the past. They think about the times they dismissed your feelings, the moments they took your presence for granted, the ways they could have been more attentive or supportive. These memories become a loop in their mind, playing over and over, reminding them of their mistakes. Why does regret feel so heavy? Because it carries the weight of unfulfilled potential. They start to see you not just as someone who was in their life, but as someone who could have made their life richer, fuller, and more meaningful. Now that potential is gone, and they're left wondering if they'll ever find anything like it again. The Stoics teach us to accept the past as unchangeable, to focus only on what can be influenced in the present. But for them, this lesson is hard to learn. Regret keeps them tethered to what might have been, dragging them back to moments they can't undo. It's a painful but necessary realization. And yet, this battle between relief and regret isn't just about them. It's also about you. When you chose to disappear, you weren't seeking their regret or hoping to trigger guilt. You made the decision for your own peace, to step away from a dynamic that no longer served you. Their feelings, their regret, those are theirs to carry, not yours. Regret is a teacher. For them, it forces reflection and growth, if they are willing to embrace it. For you, it serves as confirmation that your choice to walk away was the right one. As their regret deepens, it stirs something else within them, a need to act, to fix what's broken, to pursue what they've lost. Relief is no longer an option, and regret drives them to the next stage, the urge to chase after you. 7. The urge to pursue you. Regret has a way of lighting a fire. Once they've sat with the realization of what they've lost, something inside them shifts. The emptiness, the rejection, the curiosity, all of it builds into a powerful and undeniable urge. They must pursue you. At first, this urge might manifest subtly. They test the waters, perhaps with a casual message or by liking a post on social media. It's a hesitant attempt, an opening move to gauge your reaction. But as the silence stretches and their regret deepens, the subtlety fades. The urge becomes stronger, more desperate, driving them to take bolder actions. Why does this happen? Because people often don't appreciate what they have until it's gone. When you were present, they may have taken your consistency, care, and attention for granted. Now, in your absence, they realize how much effort you put into the relationship. They see the imbalance for the first time. You gave, they received. Now they want to reverse the dynamic. For someone new, this urge to pursue is rooted in fear. Fear that they misjudged you. Fear that they missed their chance. They start to wonder if someone else has captured your attention or if you've moved on entirely. These thoughts spur them into action, pushing them to reach out in ways they didn't before. For someone in an old relationship, The pursuit is more layered. It's not just about rekindling a connection, it's about undoing the damage they caused. They think about all the times you tried to make things work, all the ways you held the relationship together, and they realize they didn't meet you halfway. This understanding makes their desire to pursue you even stronger. But here's where things get interesting. The roles have shifted. When you were present, they held the power. They decided when to engage, how much to invest, and what the relationship looked like. But now, the dynamic is entirely different. You've stepped away, reclaimed your energy, and left them to sit with the consequences of their actions. Now they're the ones chasing. What fuels this pursuit? It's not just regret or longing, it's also a need to restore their sense of control. Your absence disrupted their narrative, showing them that they were never as secure in the relationship as they thought. Chasing you becomes their way of trying to regain that sense of balance. And yet, there's a deeper layer to this urge. It's not just about control, it's about recognition. They begin to see you not as someone who was simply there, but as someone who added value to their life in ways they didn't fully understand before. This recognition is humbling, even unsettling, and it drives them to want you back, not because they need validation, but because they now see your worth. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control, to act with integrity regardless of external circumstances. For them, this urge to pursue is their response to the loss of something valuable. For you, it's a reminder of your strength and the importance of setting boundaries. But here's the key. Their pursuit doesn't automatically mean they've changed. The intensity of their actions may be fueled by regret, but that doesn't mean they've learned the lessons your absence was meant to teach. This is where your wisdom comes into play. While they chase, you must decide, is this pursuit genuine? Are they truly ready to meet you with the respect, effort, and care you deserve? Or is this simply an emotional reaction to the discomfort of your absence? 8. The fear that brings them crawling back. Fear is a powerful motivator. After wrestling with rejection, regret, and the suffocating weight of silence, there comes a point when fear takes over completely. This fear isn't fleeting or superficial. It's a deep, all-consuming dread that they've lost you for good. And it's this fear that compels them to act, sometimes desperately, to win you back. At first, they might have convinced themselves that your absence was temporary. They told themselves that you'd eventually return, that this silence was just a phase. But as time stretches on and they see no sign of you reaching out, the reality begins to set in. You're not coming back. We're not coming back. This realization is terrifying. They start to imagine scenarios they never allowed themselves to consider before. What if they've moved on? What if someone else is making them smile, holding their attention, filling the space I once occupied? These thoughts don't just linger, they consume them, driving them into a spiral of panic. Fear is deeply tied to loss. When you disappear, it forces them to confront the fact that they no longer have control over the connection. And human nature, as the Stoics often remind us, struggles with losing what it once took for granted. This fear becomes a constant companion, whispering in their ear, you let them go, you didn't value them, and now they're gone. For someone new, this fear might feel like a missed opportunity that they can never reclaim. They see the ways they dismissed your attention, failed to meet your energy, and assumed you'd always be there. Now, the idea that you might have moved on to someone who truly values you feels unbearable. In an old relationship, the fear is even more complex. It's not just about losing you in the present, it's about losing everything you built together. The memories, the shared experiences, the moments that once defined their sense of stability, all of it feels like it's slipping away, piece by piece. This fear doesn't just stay in their mind, it drives action. They might start reaching out, sending messages that range from casual to desperate. They might try to rekindle the connection in ways they never did before, suddenly willing to put in the effort they once withheld. For them, this is a last-ditch attempt to reclaim what they fear is slipping beyond their grasp. But here's the crucial question. Are their actions driven by genuine change, or are they merely a reaction to the discomfort of losing you? Fear can make people act, but it doesn't always mean they've learned from the experience. It's important to remember that while fear can motivate them to come crawling back, it doesn't guarantee that they've grown. For you, this is where your clarity and strength come into play. The decision to disappear wasn't about teaching them a lesson, it was about reclaiming your peace and self-respect. Their fear, their regret, their longing, these are not burdens for you to carry. They are the natural consequences of how they treated the connection. And the Stoics remind us that we cannot control others' reactions, only our own. If they come back, it's on your terms, not theirs. You have the power to decide whether their return is sincere and whether their actions align with the respect and effort you deserve. Their fear might bring them back to your doorstep, but it's your wisdom that determines what happens next. Fear is the final step in their journey. It brings them to the edge of what they can handle, forcing them to confront the possibility of losing you forever. And for you, it marks a turning point, a moment to reflect on how far you've come and what you truly want moving forward. As this fear reaches its peak, they are left with one unshakable truth. Losing you was never something they were prepared for. And whether they realize it too late or act in time to make amends, your decision to step away has reshaped the dynamic forever. 9. The desire to play the game. When your absence begins to settle in their mind, and the silence you've left behind grows unbearable, some people may resort to a desperate yet familiar strategy: playing the game. Instead of confronting their emotions head-on, they try to regain control through tactics designed to provoke a reaction from you. This isn't about growth or genuine reflection. It's about testing your boundaries, poking at your resolve, and seeing if they can pull you back into their orbit without admitting their mistakes. It's a last-ditch effort to re-establish the power dynamic they once felt secure in. What does playing the game look like? For some, it means acting indifferent, pretending your absence doesn't affect them. They might suddenly seem distant or aloof, hoping this will make you question your decision to step away. Others may post cryptic messages on social media, carefully curated to make you wonder if they've moved on or found happiness without you. Then there are the bolder moves. They may flirt with others in a way that's meant to catch your attention, or they might use mutual friends to subtly relay their success since you left. On the surface, these actions might seem like confidence, but beneath them lies insecurity, the fear that they've lost you forever. Why do they play these games? Because the alternative, vulnerability, is too uncomfortable. Owning up to their mistakes, expressing regret, and risking rejection feels overwhelming. The game becomes their shield, their way of testing whether you'll come back without them having to do the hard work of accountability. For someone new, the game might involve appearing as though they're unbothered by your disappearance. They'll act as if they're thriving, trying to make you second-guess whether your absence made an impact at all. But each move they make is calculated, driven by their inability to let go of the control they thought they had. In an old relationship, the game becomes more layered. They know you better, which means they know which buttons to push. They might engage in hot and cold behavior, giving you just enough attention to keep you wondering, only to withdraw again in an effort to keep the upper hand. But here's the truth about these games: they're futile. The Stoics remind us that external actions, especially those designed to manipulate or control others, are distractions from real growth. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Their attempts to play games reveal how little power they truly have, because you've already stepped beyond their reach. What happens when you don't engage? The game begins to fall apart. Their strategies rely on your reaction, your curiosity, your jealousy, your desire to re-engage. By staying grounded, detached, and focused on your own growth, you deny them the validation they're seeking. And while they're busy playing games, you're not playing at all. You've stepped out of the cycle, reclaiming your peace and practicing true Stoicism by refusing to be drawn back into unnecessary drama. The desire to play the game is a symptom of their fear and insecurity, not their strength. It's a sign that they're struggling to handle the reality of your absence. The game, like all things rooted in manipulation, cannot last. Eventually, the cracks will show, and they'll be left with a choice: continue their futile attempts or confront their emotions with honesty. And as they wrestle with this decision, something even deeper begins to take hold: the crushing realization that silence, your silence, is far more powerful than any move they could make. When you decide to walk away, it's not just an act of leaving, it's a declaration of your worth. Every stage they experience, rejection, emptiness, reflection, curiosity, regret, the urge to pursue, the crushing weight of silence, and finally fear, is a testament to the impact of your absence. But the power of this journey isn't in what they feel, it's in what you've chosen for yourself. Walking away isn't about revenge, manipulation, or playing games. It's about recognizing that you deserve more than to be an afterthought in someone else's life. It's about honoring your time, your energy, and your peace. It's about practicing Stoicism, understanding that while you can't control how others treat you, you can always control your response. In the end, their realizations are theirs to process. Whether they come back to you with genuine change or simply remain lost in their regret is beyond your control. What matters is how you've used this experience to grow stronger, clearer, and more confident in your own worth. So ask yourself, what do you truly want moving forward? If they return, will you allow them back into your life? And if they don't, will you find peace in knowing you made the right choice for yourself? These questions are yours to answer, and the clarity they bring will shape the next chapter of your story. Thank you for taking this journey with me today. If this message resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you experienced this before, either as the one who walked away or as the one left behind? Let us know. Your story might help someone else find their strength. If you found value in this video, give it a like and share it with others who might need this message. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights into relationships, personal growth, and the art of reclaiming your power. Remember, you are the prize. Stay grounded, stay strong, and always choose what aligns with your peace. Until next time, I wish you clarity, courage, and the strength to walk your path with dignity.